Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as was the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope that you are all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. It has been an exciting 2024 already, with price action, big announcements, major change on the horizon. I mean, guys, it has been an eventful year already, and we are not even a week into it. Now, as we really look into this, and as we address everything that has been happening, one of the biggest things that we have been witnessing is the BRICS expansion, right? Now, the US dollar is having its best year so far because it was extremely oversold. We are watching it closely. We are addressing it a little bit. But for the most part, what we are really looking at is what's happening around the US dollar. The environment around the petrodollar deal and the US dollar itself is getting very, very interesting. And it all starts with the BRICS. Now, with this in mind, I do want to address this video that got posted by Digital Asset Investor just recently. This is what the adults in the room are focused on while they distract you with whether Gary will approve a Bitcoin ETF. Now listen closely to this video, because I do think that we are being distracted with a lot of the things that are coming out around the ETF news and even the mainstream media. Focus on the real news here.
That I would say to people, what makes the dollar the world reserve currency? You know, in 1971, it was delinked to gold when Nixon closed the gold window, and it was backed by nothing. A few years later, there was a deal struck between Henry Kissinger and the Saudi kingdom that, hey, we're going to protect you, but for that protection, you're going to value oil globally in US dollars. The synthetic demand that has been created for dollars over the last 50 years is a byproduct of the protection of the Saudi kingdom. And so when you see Saudi Arabia and OPEC pushing back and signing all of these agreements to join the BRICS and to join this growing union of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the largest regional military organization in the world. In essence, you have the linchpin of the dollar hegemony being called into question. And I guess I would simply say that when you stop using the dollar for settlement, little by little by little, we see all of these countries like Ethiopia, as a general said, yeah, I mean, in and of itself, what does it really matter? It's another chop at the dollar hegemony. It's also the fastest growing economy in Africa. And Venezuela has now formally applied to the BRICS. They have the largest known oil reserves in the world. Little by little by little by little, and bang, all at once, when there's an admission by Saudi Arabia and OPEC that, look, you guys signed an executive order to go green. We respect that. Thanks for the 50 years. But listen, we're joining with all of our brothers and sisters on the Belt Road Initiative. We've decided to join the BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And this is a group of countries that aren't going green and represent the majority of human population. So when that happens, when people no longer need to hoard dollars to buy oil, that synthetic demand dies. And what happens when those dollars are then dumped in favor of something else? Those dollars hit our shores in a tsunami of inflation, creating hyperinflation, which the byproduct of that is our interest rates that spike to the moon. And so when you talk about the potential of a reset, the reason that I feel that this is happening is that, look, we have a situation that is untenable in terms of the path that we are on. And, you know, people say, well, we can inflate, or we can default, or how about option number 3, find a villain? And that villain would be Xi Jinping and Putin and OPEC. And how could they do this to us? And you point to a villain that has forsaken the dollar, that has destroyed everything, destroyed the economy. And I think that is really interesting when you realize that the lead economic advisor to the United States government is a man named Jared Bernstein, whose whole thesis is to lose the world reserve status because it's a privilege we can no longer afford. So you weaponize the dollar, you sanction 2 of the BRICS countries in Iran and in Russia, and then you sign an executive order to go green, push away the linchpin of the dollar hegemony. It is a much bigger deal than people understand. And so while we may not see a reserve currency come up anytime soon, maybe it'll take a few years, a robust, well-funded, liquid bond market that has trust. But what you will see is a continuation of settlement being chosen in other currencies, whether it be a unified currency or local currencies. The lack of settlement in US dollars, where 20% of global oil supply was sold in other currencies this year, will at some point start to wreak havoc on the reserve status of the US dollar. It is a very big deal, one that most people can't get out of the way of because they don't even see it coming.
And this is so crucial as well. You know, one of the biggest things that I've been addressing on this channel is how many people are actually distracted at such a crucial time. I mean, 99% of the general public, because again, we know that 5% of the global population is in crypto. I would argue that it's probably a very small percentage of those individuals that are even watching what matters here. I constantly say that they will keep you out of the loop. They will make sure that you are not up to date on things actually happening. Just like he says in this video, right? Yeah, a new reserve currency is probably not going to happen this year or next year. But we are already at a significant time in the market for a reserve currency. How do I know this? Go back and look at the history of world reserve currencies since 1450. This got posted back in April of last year. We have been up to date on this. We could actually still see that the US dollar was accounting for 60% of global FX reserves. This is foreign exchange reserves. However, the US dollar was not always the dominant reserve currency, and they do outline this in history. Now, the big thing here is the average. We have 6 reserve currencies here. Go back and look on. If you notice, the average currency span is 94 years. The US dollar presently has been the world's reserve currency for roughly 99 years. And this year, it, I believe, turns 100 years old. So this matters to look at. And I think that we should focus on it. But also note what they are talking about here. Global foreign exchange reserves. We would never need to hold reserves anymore in terms of global FX transactions if we had something settling FX rates instantly. And we talk about it on this channel. DLT, blockchain, XRP, for an example, Ripple as a company already has 90% of the FX market. Now, outside of this, BRICS continues to grow. And yes, the major players, Saudi, Iran, the UAE, they are already joining BRICS. They joined BRICS this year. Now, all of the major nations that are interested in joining or already have joined the BRICS are all moving away from the US dollar. Now, is this enough to kill the US dollar? Is it enough for the US dollar to fall as the reserve currency? Not exactly. Not at least in the short term. But long term here, we're talking, maybe 3-5 years. Yeah, it's enough. That's why we are seeing the pushback with CBDCs. We're seeing the narrative, turning into the idea of we need to go digital now. Because at the end of the day, there is no need for a reserve currency once we actually have instant settlement. All of what we are seeing around BRICS, all of the major moves that we are seeing around BRICS is to get us to that endpoint. But also, back in March of last year, I said the US dollar era is nearly over. Pay attention to the BRICS. A new financial system spearheaded by a new reserve currency is being constructed. Now, again, back here, we were looking at the gold-backed currency that they were addressing. When we talk about a new reserve currency, I think that a lot of people get confused on the idea of what this will be. It's not going to be a currency that is owned primarily by any nation. It is going to be a decentralized reserve currency if it is going to be considered or called a reserve currency. We've talked about how it could very well be a bridge currency, a decentralized bridge currency. But this is because back in March of 2023, we've seen the big players talking about what they wanted to do, aka Saudi Arabia and even Iran. Their foreign ministers spoke by phone and have agreed to meet soon. These countries have formally asked to join BRICS. They are moving heavily. But also, just recently, January 5th, today, this happened at 2:30 a.m. Breaking news. Saudi energy giant Aramco, the world's largest oil producer, is planning to up its investment in its Chinese partner as it deepens its push in the country. Points are starting to connect. Now, this is a big deal, but you want to know why it is such a big deal? And here we have the confirmation. Guess what Saudi Aramco just did? Check this out. Japan's SBI looks to Saudi Aramco to continue Middle East expansion. This was December 11th. This was regarding digital asset investment and semiconductor production. Now, mind you, like I have said many times in the past, the future is tokenization. Are we getting to the point where oil will soon be tokenized and settled utilizing DLT and blockchain? If that is the case, this could get very, very interesting very, very fast. We even see down here that this is the latest step SBI Holdings has taken to establish a presence in the Middle East. In November, it entered into a joint venture with the British bank Standard Chartered fintech investment arm SC Ventures to create an investment company in the UAE to invest in market infrastructure, risk management, and compliance tools, DeFi, tokenization, consumer payments, and even the metaverse. Now, mind you, do I need to tell you guys that Standard Chartered actually invested into Ripple back in 2016? Also, SBI, for all of those that are aware, SBI is an absolute giant of Ripple. SBI Holdings is Ripple's largest outside shareholder and has been its partner since 2018. Also, in September, SBI Holdings and UAE-based TradeFinix partnered on a joint venture based in Japan to localize TradeFinix's XDC network enterprise blockchain there. Guess what? Here you guys have, back in September, SBI subsidiary expands XRP remittance use in Southeast Asia. This is utilizing and leveraging XRP as a bridge currency. But also, just recently, in December, at the end of December, we seen SBI also announce the establishment of SBI XDC Network APAC Co. in collaboration with TradeFinix Tech. We are thrilled to enhance the SBI and XDC network partnership, driving blockchain adoption in the APAC region. Again, as we look at what is going on here, this is getting very, very interesting, very fast, because it's all connected. As we look at what's going on here, a revolution is here. Tokenization, digitalization, it's all happening. And this is why I point to the idea of tokenization. Everything will be tokenized. Imagine if it starts with oil first heavily. I know that we've been talking about real estate. Real estate is a focus, but I'm really looking at this now because this is something that I think needs to be highlighted because all of this is connected in some way, shape, or form. And the best way that I could look at it is tokenization of oil. And I think that that's why we are starting to see these big moves happening with, Saudi Aramco, and again, the BRICS expansions. It's all to usher in this digitalization age of payments, finance, everything, every aspect, I always say a direct quote on this channel is every single major industry and sector out there will be touched by digitalization, tokenization, DLT, blockchain. This is one of the largest revolutions in history. But also, we just seen Iran's deputy foreign minister said on January 3rd, the most important problem is represented by three issues. The first is energy production. The second is energy transfer. And the third is energy consumption. I could say that these three issues are being solved by the BRICS. The petrodollar is the big focus here. And then also, currencies. Currencies are the heartbeat of the global economy. A rush to an alternative to the reserve currency always gets messy because of the extreme privilege it brings a country. Who does not like a free lunch? They will attempt to defend a full force. These are unpredictable times. And yes, we don't know what's going to happen next, but I will tell you this right now. The next few years, outside of just crypto price appreciation and things like that, the next few years are going to be very interesting, especially this year. Why? Well, because 2024, we have a full pause on the debt ceiling. And guess what? We're already at $34 trillion. This is why the whole idea of the US dollar, this Ponzi scheme idea of how the US dollar has been backed by this, backed by that, $34 trillion, and we continue to loan out our debt to any buyers out there that will buy it up, while the payments are increasing heavily every single month. When we really look at what's going on here, it's comical. This is why the US dollar versus things like Bitcoin, for an example. The only reason why I say Bitcoin is because everyone has been looking at it for years and saying, Bitcoin's the best hedge. It's the fact that the US dollar becomes almost practically worthless while everything else around us continues to drive up in price. All of these other nations also see this. That's why we are getting closer and closer and closer to the point where we will see a full reset of the system to something different. Now, this could be CBDCs. It could be, things like tokenized currencies like stablecoins, for an example. CBDCs are definitely the interesting one because a lot of people believe that this is all by plan, which, by the way, yes, I will be making a video on because I do believe that it is by plan. I think that they are trying to force this new system onto us. And the best way they could do it is by devaluing our currency and making sure that hyperinflation does happen. This is something to focus on. Everyone is being distracted by ETF this, ETF that. Listen, the big thing that everyone should be looking at is the moves being made by BRICS and what they are actually doing. Not the idea that, they're targeting the US dollar and they're going to kill the US dollar. What are they actually trying to do here? And think about the moves being made. In my opinion, this is all to force the digitalization hand. We are ushering into the digital age of everything, and that does include the entire monetary system. That's why I believe these moves are being made. So with that being said up, you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. If you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.